Dwarfs, also known as Stout Folk, are found both above and below the surface. Dwarves are relatively short compared to humans, but very stocky and muscular. They have ruddy cheeks, bright eyes, and deep tan or light brown skin. Their hair is usually black, gray, or brown, and worn long, and all dwarves, both male and female, prize their long and carefully groomed beards and mustaches. Dwarves are a highly non-magical race, resistant to toxic substances and magical dweomers. The Stout Folk are gifted with improvision and natural instincts regarding construction. Most dwarfs are skilled warriors, versed in combat against common foes including goblins, goblinoids, orcs, ogres, trolls, giants, giantkin. The dwarf race is fragmented into half a dozen races and sub-races. Most dwarven legends trace their earliest settlements back tens of thousands of years to the great mountain range Yamahal. Scholars believe that in an exodus from the Yamahal, the Stout Folk split into 2 or 3 major branches and spread across Faerun. Karatur, Zakhara, those who came to Faerun are believed to have settled beneath modern Sephar before spreading westward, eventually fragmenting into 4 subraces. The first great Faerunian dwarven kingdom centered in the cavern of Bahardin. Beneath the Shar, the dwarves' first great schism came with the founding of Shanatar beneath much of southwestern Faerun. Emigrants from Shanatar merged with the Scaterdwarf enclaves in the region to form a distinct subrace known today as the Shield Dwarfs. Shield Dwarfs eventually founded most of the great dwarven nations of north, from Agrugan to Granagar. From the earliest Shield Dwarfs, Durmathoin then created the Urdunren. After the Crown Wars and the descent of the Dark Elves, Beirindin and the surrounding territories fell to the Drow, and the dwarves of southern Faerun were driven into exile and scattered. Dwarves who fled as far as the Chult abandoned their underground homes, interbred with the small enclaves of dwarfs already dwelling there, and became the ancestors of the wild dwarfs who dwell on the Chult Peninsula today. After the first Drow kingdom of Talanta tore itself apart in civil war, the great cavern of Bahardin collapsed to form the Great Rift. Those dwarfs who resettled the caverns surrounding the Great Rift were ancestors of the Gold Dwarfs, or Hill Dwarfs. The last great schism occurred when Illithids enslaved an entire clan of Shield Dwarfs. Clan Dugar sometime before the founding of Deep Shanatar. The Dugar were long absent from Shanatar before their rediscovery, and spread through much of the Underdark during the intervening period. Some speculate that the legendary Duro may have been the result of the Illithid breeding experiments between Duergar and humans. Other minor branches of dwarves, including the desert dwarves of Mazdaca, the Arctic dwarfs of the Great Glacier, and the albino dwarfs of Chult, are isolated branches of shield dwarfs. Legends of an aquatic race of dwarfs in the Sea of Fallen Stars are conclusively discredited by every scholar who looks into the question. The Stout Folk today are enmeshed in a slow decline. At one time, shield dwarfs stretched from their ancestral home beneath Kalimshan to the spine of the world and up around the Moonsea. Gold dwarfs had established kingdoms stretching from the Shar all the way across southern Faerun, up and around the eastern end of the Sea of Fallen Stars. The Grey Dwarfs held great caverns throughout the Middle Underdark. Most of the great dwarven realms have now fallen, their halls occupied by foul monsters. No one knows the reasons behind the decline. Explanations revolve around the dwarfs' low birth rate and their near-genocidal conflicts with orcs and goblins. The low birth rates may have been caused by an evolutionary response to their long lifespans, millennia of exposure to the magical radiations of the Underdark, working overmuch with heavy ores and excessive clan inbreeding. The Stout Folk are found throughout the upper Underdark, typically in and among the great mountain ranges of the surface world. With small scattered enclaves in the middle Underdark, in recent millennia, dwarves have ceded much of their ancient territory. They now gather in their last great enclave centered around the richest veins of ore in the Underdark, heavily fortified against outsiders. Dwarves of every stripe retain a close affiliation with their family, clan, and realm. All clans have chiefs who go by varying titles, and except among the Darrow and Dugar, hold their positions by election. Groups of clans together make up a realm, traditionally ruled by hereditary kings. Lately, few such kingdoms remain, and a monarch's personal popularity and fitness to rule is increasingly viewed as important. Every clan has its elder dwarfs of influence, wealth, personal might, and distinguished age. Clan elders shape the lives of clan members, and their votes determine policy, law, and justice. Clan elders once could approve or deny marriages, renouncing the membership of any who married against their will or outside the clan. However, the dwindling birth rates of the Stout Folk have ended such influence. Dwarves are famous throughout the realms above and below for their technological mastery, their mining prowess, and the beauty and durability of their craftsmanship. Despite their inherent non-magical nature, dwarves have mastered the art of forging enchanted weapons and armor. Likewise, dwarven priests are skilled spellcasters as long as they retain their holy symbols. Less understood is the ability of dwarves to create powerful rune magic. Folk believe that the dwindling ranks of dwarven runecasters once worked great feats of enduring magic throughout the Underdark. These effects continue to be felt today, and their impact rivaled that of elven high mages. Dwarves are far more pious than many surface races suspect, devoutly venerating their pantheon. The Mordensiman, the dwarven gods, are said to have sprung from stone and earth, beginning with Moradin. Beranar is universally held to be Moradin's wife, and many dwarven theologians believe all the other dwarven powers are their descendants. Although the exact ordering of ancestry varies from myth to myth, after Moradin and Beranar, the oldest dwarven powers are thought to be Dumathoin, Abathor, Ludogor, Clangadin, Sharindlar, and the twins Dinkarzan and Darinka. The next group of dwarven gods commonly worshipped in the realms include Thardhar, Gorm Guthin, Mothhammer Durn, Dugmarin Brightmantle, and recent additions to the pantheon said to be the grandchildren of Moradin and Baranar have included Hela, Brightaxe, and Deep Dora. Masters of engineering, dwarfs completely reshape their subterranean environments. The Stout Folk have a great feel for stone, and their stonework strengthens and enhances the earth's natural structures. As a result, dwarven architecture radiates enduring strength and is apt to outlive its creators by many generations. The Stout Folk favor freestanding columns and great arches, smooth, clean lines that display the beauty of the stone. Dwarven communities take root in the great natural caverns of the Underdark near rich veins of ore, living in and among the rock itself. Passages into and out of dwarven enclaves are heavily trapped and easily navigable only by dwarves. Dwarven homes are often built into terraced cavern walls, part freestanding and part dug into the rock. The Stout Folk are ever vigilant against threats from the tunnels below. Heavily armed and armored patrols of fierce dwarven warriors regularly tromp through the surrounding environs of a dwarven community. Dwarves settle relatively close to areas of volcanic activity, so their smithies lie near natural forges and rich veins of ore. This also leaves a maze of tunnels in the vicinity of caverns in which they dwell. However, dwarves have a much better understanding of the environment in which they dwell than do miners of other races, and as a result leave far less evidence of their mining activities than one might suspect. Darrow. The Darrow are a degenerate, chaotic, evil race, least like the other dwarven races and sub-races. They are short and stocky with skin the color of an iced-over lake. Their sickly, pale yellow hair hangs straight over staring, pupilless eyes. Darrow facial features have both human and dwarven characteristics, and their rough skin is spotted with short, coarse tufts of hair. Darrow never willingly expose themselves to direct sunlight. It nauseates them and can kill them within a matter of days. The primary deities of the Darrow are the twins Dinkarzan and Darinka. Darrow dwell primarily in the middle and lower reaches of the Underdark, although small warbands sometimes climb to the upper reaches and even raid surface communities. Although most of the Stout Folk are inherently non-magical, the Darrow are ruled by savants, powerful spellcasters with sage-like knowledge in many areas. Every 20 years or so, the Darrow mount an all-out war against all other creatures of the Underdark. Each uniting war winnows out the weakest members of the race, creates a focal point for racial identity, and induces general terror. Duergar. The lawful evil Duergar, also known as the Grey Dwarfs, appear to be emaciated, nasty-looking dwarfs with complexions and hair ranging from medium to dark gray. In addition to the normal abilities of the Stout Folk, the Duergar are skilled psionicists. and possess the magical abilities of enlargement. Duergar are adversely affected by sunlight. The primary deities of the Duergar are Landagar, the Exile, and Deep Dura. Duergar dwell primarily in the upper and middle reaches of the Underdark, although some believe scattered clans have ventured into the Underdark's deepest tunnels. The Duergar are the bitter exiles of the Dwarven race, sharing much of the shield and gold dwarf cultures. Overlaid with harshness and cruelty, they hate most other races, but grudgingly trade with them. While the Grey Dwarves and Dark Elves often fight, the two races are regular, if reluctant, trading partners. Likewise, Duergar skilled in psionics enable the Grey Dwarfs to hold their own, and thus trade with both Aboleth and Illithids. Golden Dwarfs. Lawful good golden dwarfs have dusky skin tones, sometimes colored deep red instead of cinnamon brown, and dark, usually black hair. They tend to be shorter and more heavy-set than shield dwarfs. Gold dwarfs are found primarily in the southern and eastern reaches of the upper Underdark. Most gold dwarfs gravitate to the tunnels and caverns surrounding the Great Rift, but small enclaves are still found as far afield the mountains of Halrua or deep beneath the Thayan plateaus. Gold dwarfs are powerful, proud, and xenophobic, shunning even other dwarfs, and traveling little in the surface world. Their numbers have not declined as quickly as those of their northern kin, but gold dwarfs are still locked in the same self-destructive cycle of warfare against the other Underdark races that has led to the collapse of many northern kingdoms. Shield dwarfs. Lawful good shield dwarfs are the prototypical dwarfs, found primarily in the western and northern reaches of the upper Underdark. They have long since immigrated from the ancient caverns of Shanatar in the southwest. The number of lost shield dwarf holds far outstrips the number extant today. Shield dwarfs have solid alliances with other good-aligned races, particularly in the Snefneblin. Relationships with the Duergar are uniformly hostile and often break out into open conflict. Darrow relations are even worse. Shield dwarfs deeply hate Aboleth, Drow, Illithids, Koatoa, and other slaving races. They trade with them only reluctantly. Undunerin. The Undunerin, a forgotten neutral offshoot of the shield dwarfs whose name means ore cutter in their dialect, are said to be specially blessed by Dumathion, the Keeper. Undunerin look like shield dwarfs, except that their skin tends to be light gray, while their long beards range from light to dark gray, and their eyes are silver. In addition to the normal abilities of all Stout Folk, ore cutters can walk through stone and earth like air, while bringing other items with them. They shape stone or metal with a thought, and strike with their powerful rock-hard fists for great damage. Instead of animal and vegetable products, Undunerin consume gems from veins replenished by Demathion himself. Undunerin are found primarily in the western and northern reaches of the middle and lower Underdark, deep beneath the kingdoms of the shield dwarven cousins. And I suspect that this video is getting long about now, so this is going to wrap up our first part of Drizzt Do'Urden's Guide to the Underdark. And I'll see you real soon with some more monstery goodness. If you stuck around this long, I thank you. Please smack that subscribe and assault that like button. And we'll get back to you real soon with some more monstery goodness. Until then, stay frosty and aware, beautiful people. Thank you. Thank you very much.